Just waiting to see. We're going to help you. We're going to push that guy along for you. Acts chapter 20, verse 7 to 12. We're going to look at 5 scriptures, and then we're going to give you a couple handles to walk away this week. I hope to see you next Sunday. Next Sunday is anniversary week in 1 year. I'm so excited about next Sunday. It is going to be amazing. Everyone that shows up is getting a free t-shirt. We got cookies, Elevate Life cookies. We got all kinds of exciting things happening. My pastor's going to be here. My pastor from Frisco, Texas, Dallas area is coming up. He's flying in. Matter of fact, he's bringing some guests with him. And so it's going to be a big, fun celebration. Would you help me? Would you help me just invite everybody you know? If you're not following us on social media, or maybe you're online right now, we want to welcome all those that are watching online. We got people from Arkansas, Tennessee. We got people from Florida, Oklahoma, Texas. We got people from Guatemala. Can we just give them a big round of applause? Everyone that's watching around the area. And we got some people. But let me just say, if you can make it in person, be in person. Don't just watch online. If you can be here, be here. Because guess what? The food is always better in person. Takeout is okay. Takeout is okay, but when you get the meal in person, how many know it tastes a lot better? So let me give you some context real quick. So I'm going to move really fast. So everybody say, I'm ready. Ready. Say, I'm ready. Ready. So I'm going to give you some context. This is Acts. This is the book of Acts. Acts 20, 7 through 12. Now, this is the book, the history of the church. 30-year history. Luke, who's a physician, he's one of the disciples of Jesus, he wrote this book. Paul, it's really about Paul in this book of Acts. Yes, there's other guys about Ananias. There's King Agrippa in here. There's all different churches. There's Asia journeys. There's Europe journeys in here. There's all different journeys of Paul, missionary journeys in this book of Acts. But I love this because when you're reading the book of Acts, 28 chapters, when you read the whole book of Acts, there's this one story. It really doesn't fit. To me, Mom, it doesn't really fit in the passage in the 28 chapters. At least, to my understanding, it didn't fit. So I'm wondering why Luke, the great physician, the disciple of Jesus, pinned this to paper and put this in the book of Acts. So I'm reading this, and then all of a sudden I'm realizing I get why he put it in here. Now you gotta realize Paul was the great apostle. Paul was shipwrecked. He was beaten. He was bit by snakes. He was beaten up. He was stoned. He was kicked. He was punched. He was locked up in the bottom of the jail cell. And then at midnight he was worshiping God, and the chains fell. Come on, anybody know what I'm talking about? Paul and Silas. Then you got Paul. Paul hated Christians. Paul hated Christians. Matter of fact, his name before it turned to Paul was Saul. Saul hated Christians, and he was actually a church killer. He was actually a church killer. But then on the road to Damascus, as he's going there to persecute Christians, to kill Christians, he has an encounter. He has like this life encounter with Jesus. Like not a religious encounter, but a life-altering encounter with Jesus. A bright light shined, and Jesus said, Paul, why are you persecuting me? Why are you persecuting? I mean, it's amazing. Now watch this. All of a sudden, now, he goes from Saul, God changes his name, to Paul, and now he has this massive conversion. And now he goes from being a church killer to being a church planner. It's so powerful. How we know it's not how you start, it's how you finish. How we know that God can take a little bit and multiply it. Yeah. Maybe you didn't step out of the womb on the right foot. But how we know it's not that step that matters. It's the step that you're taking right now towards heaven that really matters. If you just get one thing right, how many know all the other things will get right? Yeah. Sometimes we think I got to get 100 things right in order for my life to be right. No, the one thing is if I can get just in line with God, and if I can get this relationship right, then all of my other relationships will be right. Because how many know when this relationship is not right, none of these relationships will ever be right. So Paul, man, this is the great apostle. This is the man of God. That's what he does. He's penned through this whole book called the Book of Acts, the church, 30-year history. He's in this book. Luke, the physician, who was a disciple of Jesus, is watching and writing the story. This is so powerful. But then they put this story in the Bible. And I never understood until now. And I'm going to read it to you. Acts chapter 20, verse 7 through 12. On the first day of the week, we came together to break bread. Paul spoke to the people because he intended to leave the next day. He kept on talking until midnight. Paul's a preacher. How many of you would stay with me to midnight today? hold up. About to get me twisted up in my feelings. Y'all just triggered something. Hold up. How many of you would honestly stay with me to midnight tonight if I felt like preaching all the way to midnight? Still not enough hands. I'm still disappointed. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't even stay with myself to midnight. I would say, no, I'm done. I would leave myself. Can you imagine? Like, you're there with Paul the Apostle, and he's preaching to midnight. Can you imagine? I mean, that's a that's a long time to be preaching. Like, you know, the ear can only endure what the seat can take. You know what I'm saying? But that's not true, Bill, because we'll go to a 3.5 hour movie. Okay, sorry. Okay. So, yeah, that was a shot fired, but I'll pull back. So here we go. Acts, here we go. Let me continue. Verse 8, there were many lamps in the upstairs room where they were meeting. Many lamps. Remember that. Many lamps in the upstairs room where they were meeting. Sitting in the window was a young man named Ephesus. Eutychus, thank you. I was waiting for you to help me. This is my front row help right here. I knew I was talking about last week. I had it first service, and I studied it all week because these New Testament, Old Testament names mess me up. I don't know, I'm going to talk to Jesus when I get to heaven. Can we get some normal names in the Bible? Can we get some like Jeremy, some Sarahs, some normal names? So we got Eutychus. Come on, help, what is it? Eutychus, okay, I thought, because it's like these are not normal names. Please don't name your kid Eutychus, okay? So, don't do that, okay? Well, I just want to be biblical, Pastor Jay. Yeah, you're going to mess him up. All right, so his name was Eutychus. He was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul was talking on and on. Here it is, Paul is preaching. When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground out of the third story and was picked up dead. Watch the next verse. Paul went down, threw himself on the young man, put his arms around him. Don't be alarmed, he said. He's alive. Then they went upstairs and broke bread and ate. After that, until daylight, he left. The people took the young man home, took the young man home alive, and they were gratefully comforted. This is so savage. Look at this. Paul went down, threw himself on the young man, put his arms around him. Don't be alarmed. He said, he's alive. Then they went upstairs and they broke bread and ate. How many know that's pretty gangster stuff right there? That's pretty savage. Can you imagine falling out of a third story window? Paul runs down the stairs, puts his arm around the kid, and says, yeah, you're alive. And they go back upstairs and they eat. Maybe that's me. That's not very pastoral.